President, are we in quorum call?
No.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, for the second time over the past few weeks, I've come to the Senate floor to talk about the importance of medical research funding at the National Institutes of Health, NIH. Last week, during his address to Congress, President Trump unveiled a new member of the U.S. Secret Service, a 13-year-old named DJ who had always dreamed about becoming a police officer. It was a touching moment because DJ wasn't supposed to be alive today. You see, in 2018, he was diagnosed with brain cancer and given just a few months to live. But because of advances in science and medicine, because of medical researchers conducting life-saving work, because of new treatments and cures, thank goodness this young man is alive today. And he's alive because of the work of the National Institutes of Health. But that work for a lot of other desperate families is in danger because of President Trump and his unelected assistant, Elon Musk, who are carrying out a cruel campaign to cut research funding for diseases such as childhood cancer, ALS, Alzheimer's, dementia, and so many more. I don't know young DJ or his family, but I can just imagine what they went through when they told their son had brain cancer. Who can imagine as a parent what that must have been like? And I'll bet you one of their first questions to the doctor was basic. Is there a cure? Is there a treatment? Is there something we can do? Thankfully, the answer was yes, because of medical research. You know, all the miracle drugs you see on TV, constant deluge of ads about new drugs, 99% of drugs approved in the last 10 years benefited from NIH research. NIH funding is what kids like DJ are using to beat cancer, why babies are being spared preventive illness, why HIV is no longer a death sentence, why progress is being made in ALS and so many neurological diseases. But since the start of this administration, we've seen a White House unleash a lawless, chaotic attack on everything from the Federal Aviation Administration to biomedical research. First, President Trump and Elon Musk ordered a freeze on most federal grant funding, including medical research funding. You see, after extensive review of grant applications, the NIH awards approximately $38 billion a year in funding to the best and brightest medical researchers at universities in all 50 states, Illinois included. But Trump and Musk inexplicably view this as wasteful and needless. While this freeze was found illegal by a federal judge, the administration has continued to defy court order. To this day, we are taking actions to prevent medical research funding from going out to scientists and labs with breakthrough ideas. As a result, NIH has delayed awarding approximately $1 billion in grant funding to institutions nationwide. What alarms me is that NIH funding has not historically been a partisan issue. This used to be the most bipartisan thing in the Senate. Over the past decade, a bipartisan group in Congress, Roy Blunt, Republican senator from Missouri, Lamar Alexander, Republican senator from Tennessee, Patty Murray, Democrat from Washington, joined with me in an effort to increase funding for NIH. This bipartisan team, which I was proud to be part of, increased NIH funding over the last 10 years by 60%. We did this because we know that sickness does not respect partisan lines. We need cures on a bipartisan basis, and NIH funding leads to new breakthroughs for all patients in need, supports good-paying jobs in red and blue states, and cements our global leadership. Illinois universities and hospitals receive approximately $1.3 billion in NIH funding every year. That supports 16,000 researchers in our state and $3.6 billion in economic activity. And our state is the rule, not the exception in this regard. But Trump and Musk aren't finished here. Next, they tried to indiscriminately slash how NIH pays for indirect cost. What's an indirect cost? It helps medical research operate the laboratories. It pays for the new computers, the microscopes, the handling of hazardous materials. They are negotiated on a case-by-case basis between the federal government and each hospital or university. Look, I'm open to discussions about reforms to show how indirect costs are calculated, but just arbitrarily and illegally slashing all indirect cost allotments will stop medical research in its track in many laboratories. Thankfully, Illinois' Attorney General, with 21 others, sued and secured a temporary relief for universities and researchers. Now, Trump and Elon Musk have focused their efforts on firing the medical researchers themselves. Reports indicate that 1,200 NIH employees have been fired so far, experienced vaccine researchers, the next generation of scientists, and the acting director of the NIH Alzheimer's and Dementia Program. Further, Trump and Musk have ended a popular trainee program that brought 1,600 young scientists out of colleges to the NIH world, the renowned campus in Maryland. NIH research leads to new cures and treatments that extend, improve, save lives. That's why I'm once again trying to pass a resolution pledging just basic bipartisan support for NIH. This resolution is simple. It says the work of NIH should not be subject to interruption, delay, or funding disruptions in violation of the law. And it reaffirms the workforce of NIH is essential to sustaining medical progress. For kids like DJ, for people like my friend Brian Wallach, who's fighting ALS, for every family out there dealing with life-threatening diagnoses, we must not stay silent in the face of Donald Trump and Elon Musk's assault on medical research. I will never stop fighting to protect NIH and the medical research it supports. I hope that it will become, once again, a bipartisan effort. And so, as if in legislative session, I ask unanimous consent that the Committee on Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions be discharged from further consideration, and the Senate now proceed to S-Res 93. Further, that the resolution be agreed to, and the motion to reconsider be considered and made and laid upon the table.
Is there an objection?
President,
The senator from Oklahoma.
I object.
The objection is heard.
Mr. President,
The Democratic whip.
I'm disappointed. I hope I can appeal to my friend from Oklahoma about how important this is to every single state. It's certainly important to my state of Illinois, where we have thousands of researchers and millions of dollars being spent. But it's also important to his state. Oklahoma has some very valuable laboratories and hospitals that do research as well. I'd like to just give you some examples. Each year, Oklahoma receives $160 million in NIH funding. This money supports 2,500 jobs in the state of Oklahoma and $450 million in economic activity. The top NIH-funded research in Oklahoma is the University of Oklahoma. It receives $80 million a year. With this funding, researchers in Oklahoma have recently conducted medical research on slowing kidney disease progression, improving brain function after strokes, and how changes to cell activity can slow progression of Alzheimer's. Senator Mullen, I know, is a proud graduate, I'm sure, of Oklahoma State University, which receives $15 million in NIH funding annually. And so, Mr. President, I hope I can appeal to my colleague and others to take a close look at their own home states of how this medical research makes a difference in their states and will make a valuable difference in the quality of life for Americans across the board. And I yield the floor.